Right, so drum roll. Solomon Wachi was it www.handsome.com, our singing real estate man. So we got a good insight into the first part of your life yesterday, Solomon. Really looking forward to part two this morning. So I think with no further ado, let's let you take it away. Lee, you happy with that? Great. So Solomon, over to you.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yep, you're loud and clear. Yeah.
Okay, so continuing from where I left off, obviously I had an interesting roller coaster, interesting seasons at the same time, within a short period of time. While I was still growing up. But I think the reason I titled this thing Trouble in Paradise, I wanted to just highlight that during that time when I was busy experiencing everything, there was this person that was impacted negatively as well, while there were good things that I was experiencing. So yeah, I mean, I obviously I'm trying to move this screen because I can't see my slide properly. Can you still see me? Hello?
Yeah, Solomon, we can see your slide. It's just not in presentation mode, but we can see it.
Okay. So obviously at that young age, there was a lot of trouble that was stirring within my life. Miles Monroe, the late Miles Monroe says that what you see, it's what you get. So what is it that I was seeing as I was growing? I was seeing anger, violence stirring within my lives, you know, physical abuse and lots of bitterness happening. I mean, I was not stable. We were moving quite a lot at home all the time. So not even realizing that some of the things that happens to you, they actually almost like begin to stain on you. Sooner or later now I was already smacking my sister, and I was already now doing physical abuse now. So I just remember one particular moment where after beating her up, and she couldn't walk after I've beaten her up. And that moment I decided that, you know what, this was not how I was gonna be living. This is not who I was gonna be. So yeah, I mean, it was quite challenging. And then obviously now I had peer pressure coming on, bad friendships in my life. But the one particular thing that I guess this thing really nearly got my life into a standstill. So one of these days I was in Northwest, and we were staying in a place called Mohwase. It's next to Sun City. So my dad had beaten me so much, and I ran away. I ran to my uncle, and I stayed with my uncle, I think, for 2-3 weeks. And while I was obviously running, you know, and running from the fact that I'm being abused and all that, then I was with my uncle, and he had this pornographic material that was there, and I started feeding myself with those things and all that, and nothing really happened to me. I mean, it was just an innocent movie, etc., etc. But I didn't realize that I actually was almost like having more deeper wounds created within myself. Now, obviously, after that scenario, then I obviously went to Cape Town. Um, but when I was in Cape Town, 6 years down the line, after my wife and I were married, stuff like that, uh, the whole pornography stuff started impacting me very much and started impacting my marriage, um, you know. And I know when you go through counseling, these things, they speak about addictions and stuff like that. But I actually went through that, and um, I'm actually alive and I'm well. I'm not addicted now to those things. I mean, from a biblical point of view, some of these things are demonic things that follows you around. And then if you continue to feed yourself to those things, they actually grow and they become a monster. And then they actually form an addiction within you. And so obviously for every addiction that all of us faces, we need to just come and disturb it and intervene. And a turnaround came really when I arrived in Cape Town, and I obviously gave my life to Christ. And really that changed a lot. And I think the big thing, if I know a lot of people uh, don't really agree to Christianity that much, but I know today that the issue of forgiveness has impacted my life a lot. I know that when I forgive somebody, I forgive them for myself initially, and that's actually that brings more peace and that brings more life into me, because I can always change. And if they don't change, then my life must still continue. Um, so that's why my life right now, it's actually just more better. I'm a father who's present and who cares and nurtures for his family. And I just want to protect my family all the time. My wife and I are a teamwork. We are always investing into trying to improve our marriage all the time. Um, and for us as guys as well, one of the things that I realize as men, we, we are not, I know we always say the ladies are hard to deal with, but to be honest with you, I feel we are the worst, because we don't have models and examples and people that are fathers into our lives, breathing something powerful, teaching us how to become a man, teaching us how to walk, teaching us how to do things that we need. And we don't go through those stages properly. So I know we've got a fatherless ready generation right now. I mean, that's the reason why we have crime and all that. Everybody else is trying to look out for themselves and all that. So we've got a big work ahead of us, you know. So I know for myself, love will always be the core part of my life. And when I see other people, I'm always asking myself, am I extending my love to them, or am I busy judging them? You know, am I compassionate to them? Am I empowering them? Am I being helpful? I go beyond selfishness, because that's actually where I come from. Um, so yeah, I am very, very honored to really become part of all of you. And if you don't mind, I would actually, this is my end of my story. I would actually love to quickly say a prayer to all of you right now. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for such lovely people, Father, and such amazing pillars, people that are leaders, Father, people that are prepared to put their life in the line. I just pray for everybody that you meet them at the point of need, you empower them, and you help them to become everything that you want them to be. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Solomon. Thank you so much for your strength, for your courage to actually, take us through your story, and what an amazing story of challenges and recovery and power. I think of how you've come through, and all these things that you've come through, and are able to come to this point where you can actually talk to us about it and feel feel the ability to be able to share this experience, this journey of your life with us. So I think a real privilege for us to have been part of that story. So thank you. Right. So if you wouldn't mind, Solomon, if you can take down your share screen, then we can open up to the group and get some thoughts from the other folk and chat around. So Lee, let's go to you first.
Solomon, thank you. What a privilege, real privilege to just hear, to listen, and to appreciate very, very tough story, and that you, but as I said in the chat, it seems to me that you can share this because you've done so much work, and we appreciate God's role in your life. But we know that doesn't come with a magic wand. It's work that you yourself have to do, and that you've done that work is completely evident in the man that we see today. And you might not have had role models that you looked up to, but you are becoming, and you are a role model for us and for the next generation. And we look to you as somebody who knows what it means to overcome very difficult circumstances outside and inside of yourself. And that means that you have incredible power to reach into the lives of others, to make a difference, and to be a healing presence in your community and in our country. And so very grateful that we've had this opportunity to hear your story and to know that it really will have ripple effects throughout your life and throughout our lives.
Thanks, Lee. Stella, would you like to add your thoughts?
Morning, everyone. Oh, Solomon, you touched my heart so deeply. I loved your story, and I loved the honesty with in the way that you told it. And I don't have words, but I can just say, and you ended it perfectly with that prayer. It was so lovely, and I just want to give praise to God for turning your life around. And I know that you're still going to do amazing things in your life. And I see your soul, and it's a beautiful soul. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I was deeply touched. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Stella. Edward, your thoughts?
Yes, that was an amazingly powerful story, and I think it takes a lot of courage to tell it. I like the fact that it was you that suddenly sort of realized that you were almost programmed to do what you were doing, and you wanted to break away from it when you realized what you'd done to your sister. And I think also you brought out that actually we carry it with us for a long time. It's a long time before we can eventually get away from it. But I also like the fact that you said, you're still working on your marriage, you're still improving it. So we're always on that journey, and you've come a long way, but you realise you can still keep moving forward. I thought it was a really powerful message, so thank you very much.
Right, thanks, thanks, Edward. Umpo, your thoughts?
Wow, sure. I'm so emotional. Thank you so much, Solomon. What a powerful story. What it's done for me is that it's given me so much hope. You know, our communities are broken, our families are broken anyway, where we come from. And to know that there's stories like this gives me so much hope that we can turn this ship around. So I'm so grateful, my brother, for telling me this story. There's so many things going through my mind right now in terms of how we can use your journey and your experience to help others. So I'm going to be giving you a call.
Fantastic. Thanks, Umpo. Cecile.
Oh, Solomon, it was so lovely. I've got two questions that I want to ask you. Are you a estate agent for the Hazelmark still today? And do you see your father? I think I know that you did say that you don't take your children to your father, but do you see your father, and how is the relationship now that you are a reborn Christian? Interestingly enough, I was listening to a story from Dean Graziosi. That's one of Tony Robinson's. They work together, guy, and he had gone through exactly what you have gone through in his life. Also, that like 3-generational abuse of grandfather, father, and him himself, until he said exactly what you said. You had to draw the line in the sand, and you had to say no more. But that's something that you have to decide for yourself and do that. So fantastic, and I'm so happy that being a Christian helped you to do that. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually am still an agent at Hazelmark, so that's a yes. I'm not seeing my dad right now. I've poured out myself, and I'll still continue pouring out myself, because life is about giving, not taking. Obviously, he's got quite a very hard heart, so he doesn't want to talk to me or speak to me or whatever, because at a certain time I had to confront him and talk to me, and really wanted to be physically abusive again to me. So he's not allowing me in, but that's fine, because I know I'm not defined by the things that he's done. I'm defined by really the word of God. It just helps me to continue to go forward.
Interesting that you say that. On Sunday, our sermon from our church, the topic was, I am my own man, I am not my father, I am not my child, I am me, and I can make the changes in the world that I want to make. So yeah, that is, it's good for you to have come to that realization that you are you and he doesn't define you. Well done.
Right, thanks, Cecile. Thanks, Solomon. Kevin, let's come to you.
Morning all, Solomon. Great to listen to your story. Took a lot of strength to go through what you've told us over the last couple of mornings. I just feel that that strength you've gained through going all that, you'll give you strength moving forward. And I can see you having a great, successful, strong life as a result. Well done, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks, Kevin. Nozipo.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. Thank you for sharing your journey and your story, Solomon. It was very powerful. I can just imagine what you went through trying to decide what to share and what not to share. But thank you for opening up to all of us like that. There's someone that says, I can't remember who, one of the authors says we are assigned certain mountains to show others that they can be moved. And you know, I think what you were assigned, the mountains you were assigned and how you overcame them, what's equally important is for you to show others, especially during this time, that it's possible to overcome what you overcame, that it's possible to get yourself to turn around, to change, and the conversations you had with yourself to get yourself to change. Because, you know, this means that these mountains can be moved. This means that the abuse we see out there can be moved. And I assume when you see it, you are much more compassionate to it now. And your story has also made me much more understanding and, you know, compassionate and wanting to help where those things happen, the abuse like that happens. So thank you, Solomon. Thanks for sharing. You're an amazing person for having gone through that and come out much stronger. And thanks for the prayer too.
Thanks, Nazipa. Yeah, and I think you touched on some very powerful things there. You know, the examples that are set that enable us to see that mountains can be moved and climbed, and strongholds can be broken. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Trevor, let's come across to you.
Yeah, thank you, Solomon. I'm blown away, and I think your prayer for us just demonstrates who you are and how you've broken this cycle of negativity. And what stood out for me in a lot of the stories that have opened up over the past 90 odd days is just how important a role, either bad or good, that parents play. And so I don't want to focus on the males, but geez, out of the stories, have they been problem children? But we also recognize the important role that mothers have to play. And those stories came out of gogos and grandmothers and through to mothers. And really, you put the cap on for me that someone has to take responsibility for breaking the cycle. And that perhaps what we're doing in this Wisdom's Chats is people are starting to get to recognize who's responsible. So the solution has got to be found somewhere through yourself, and you found it from a spiritual perspective, a Christian perspective, and kudos to you. Others will find their solutions from different perspectives, but there's still a personal responsibility to stick to break into that cycle. I just can't, you know, I've got to take my hat off to you and then everyone else all the time. So I found myself doing this as I reflect on the last 90 days of all of the discussions. Phenomenal story, phenomenal day, phenomenal 3 months. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Trevor. Indaleka, let's come across to you.
Morning, everyone. Solomon, thank you so much for being honest. Thank you so much for having the courage to say, I am a broken man, and this is not what I want going forward. You realized what your father had done to you. You realized that you were now becoming your father, and you said, I'm going to change it. I want to commend you on that because you cannot conquer what you will not confront. And I'm saying this because actually your story was very touching to me. I was married to a broken man, and for the exact same reasons that you went through. And I had to endure all that anger, all that abuse he then took out on me. And I had to say to myself, I'm not going to let my son carry this cycle through. It needs to stop, and I'm going to be the one that stops it. And I had to walk away. So thank you very much, because we have a lot of broken men out there. And yes, a lot of them is black men because of whatever reasons, but they cannot sit and say, I'm really, really broken about this, and I'm continuing with the cycle. So you did that. You said, no more, I'm ending it. So kudos to you, my brother. Bless your heart for doing that. That takes a lot of strength. Thank you.
Thanks, Indaleka. And it also takes a lot of strength to walk away from one of those relationships. So kudos to you as well. I think absolutely, you know, it's not an easy thing to break free from. So yeah, very, very powerful. Jasper, let's come across to you.
I concur with almost the reaction of Trevor there. As I was listening to Solomon, I almost had the sense of us sitting in a circle and someone says, "Hi, my name is Jasper Klute. I'm a human being." And I want to call it almost life anonymous, that what has happened the last 90 days is people just touched us by sharing how they dealt with their specific path that they didn't choose. But, you know, we are issued here on earth as a little baby, and then the path starts happening. But then along the line, because of choices that men and women make, the path unfolds. And what I've also realized, and Solomon, you didn't spend too much time on that, but I know there was a moment in Cape Town where you confronted with, you know, the history and the past. And it was probably in a church setting or with a counselor or something. But I think with the best of our abilities, your mind is not strong enough. You need a higher hand and almost the spirit guidance that softens your heart to then make your mind ready to say, okay, I accept this guidance in my life. So thank you for accepting that new spiritual guidance, because I think in this world, people are not aware that there's either the force of good or the force of evil, and we need to choose wisely. And as I was listening to your story, it also came up in my mind the story of Michelangelo taking a large piece of marble or rock and just started to chisel away at it, and many weeks and months later, there was this magnificent statue of a powerful horse. And people said, "How did you know?" He said, "No, I just chiseled away what wasn't the horse." So I think, fortunately, God knows who is in all of us. And then he used the chisel of relationships and people and circumstances to chisel away what is not really us. And I think your name to me, Solomon, speaks of that wisdom and speaks of Solomon ended up almost not just being the wisest man, also one of the richest men. So I really see in your life a blessing of wealth and wisdom, and that through your life, many lives will be touched. And then I just have a last question. What is your relationship with your sister now today?
So I've got three sisters, and all of them are Christians. So our relationships are doing very, very well. Yeah, I'm always able to confront situations. Sometimes if somebody does not accept, I leave them for a while and then I come back again. So I call myself a pursuer of hating people. So if I normally get attracted to people that are hurting, and then I find a way to move them from that space. So we're actually doing very, very well with my sisters.
That's excellent news, Solomon. Donovan, let's come across to you.
Morning, everyone. I must apologize. I only got in right at the end, literally. But David, when he was surrounded, outside, and he had to find strength within himself. I think the Bible says he managed to gird the loins of his mind. I think that is, what is needed to find that inner strength, that mental strength, to help you to make, difficult decisions, to make difficult moves, to move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Donovan. Right, Tumpulelo, I think we'll wrap up with your thoughts and before we hand back to Lee to close off for this morning.
Yeah, morning everyone. Morning, Solomon. Obviously, your side of the story that speaks about fatherlessness would resonate the most with me. And obviously because I've had similar experiences that you've had. And that makes me also then appreciate you even the more, because I know firsthand the impact of a father to a son. You know, fathers have impact on both their children, both sons and daughters, but the impact is different. A father impacts a son in ways that I think it's even difficult to put into words. In actual fact, sons tend to suffer the most out of fatherlessness in terms of what it does to them and the impact that it has. And because also I understand that impact, the fact that you've overcome it, for me first brings the hope, but secondly, I appreciate that there's others out there who are finding that difficult path of change that leads them to being better fathers, in spite of situations that they come from. And that for me just lifts you so much in my mind that you've turned that around. I know what it takes, Solomon. It's not the easiest of things. You know, when you tell the story, it seems like you were experiencing these things and then you changed and became this person. But the process itself, when you unfold it as to what it takes, the energy, the effort, the time in prayer, the time in God's presence, and it's a long process. And for one to go through it and come to the other end, I really clap hands for you. There's a line in Isaiah that says, and the trees will clap hands for you. And I think that's what they're doing at this moment in time. So kudos to you, my man. Really, really appreciate that you've done this and you've overcome the difficulty. I guess the challenge that me and you have is to say, how do we then take what we've gone through and meet with other boys, meet with other men and say, this is the path, this is what it takes. You can, it is possible that you can turn things around. I look at your family, I look at my family, and I'm like, these people are having a much better experience than we did. And one thing I know for sure, you are very precious about your kids, because that's how precious I am with my own kids. And it has a lot to do with where we come from. Last thing, one of the researchers I've gone through has found out that most of the kids that ended up in jail, the highest reason that they had was because they did not have a father. It's just how impactful it is. I think let me keep it there for today. I would speak for days on end about fatherlessness and its impact on a boy child. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you again, my man.
Thank you, Mvulelo. We need to be very cognizant of the impact we have on the lives of people around us. So I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's for everyone, you know, very, very powerful stories. So Lee, back to you to wrap us up for this week and perhaps suggest what we might be doing on Monday morning, and then we can take it from there.
Well, thank you. Again, you know, just, you know, like Stella said, you don't have the words, but again, just thank you to everyone for their honoring and respectful way that provides a safe place that we can hear these kinds of stories. We honor the storyteller, but we also value those who listen and share with and appreciate with great respect and honor. Tomorrow, Monday, we have a two-day break. So Monday, I want us to think about this word that has been so abused, I think, in our world. And it's the word love. And I don't want it to be, and it's interesting, I've just got one little story. My brother-in-law's brother was an international cricketer, and he's become an international cricket coach. He's a fielding coach and has been for Sri Lanka, for India. He's done all the IPLs, and he's now sitting in Canada, and he gets sort of farmed out to various teams. So he's a very, very a well-known and a well-appreciated international cricket coach. And when my sister said to him, so what really accounts for your success? He said, you have to love the team. He said, they know what they're supposed to do. He said, they've been playing cricket since they were 3 years old. You don't have to tell them what to do. They know it's in their bones. I'm not coaching them because they don't know what to do. They need to know that they are loved. And I'm thinking about these little rugger, I mean, they're cricket players, but they're men, you know, we're the men. And here he's talking about loving them. And I think about that story. I think about the role of fathers. I think about the role of mothers. I think about the role of grandmothers. I think about what we are doing in business. And how does that translate? How does this word love make a difference in the world around us? So can we talk about that on Monday?
Great, thanks, Lee. We'd love to talk about it. So I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and we'd love to see you back on Monday morning, 8 o'clock sharp. And Solomon, once again, absolute privilege of sharing your story. Thank you so much. And everyone have a fantastic weekend. See you Monday.